Hey Martin, welcome to episode 34 of Illuminating Rounds. How you doing?
Absolutely brilliant.
Brilliant.
Wait to be looking. We're going to be looking at the Roma pack today. Really enthusiastic about that. We're going to be looking at a scenario that we played last week. And loads of other stuff as well.
There's a plenty, isn't there? We're going to talk about our top 5 reasons that we can't wait to play face-to-face ASL. I'm definitely missing it. I know you've said you are. I don't know if that's true.
Yeah, definitely am. Yeah, no, can't wait to get back to face-to-face. It's the old, just the actual physicality of the other guy's breath, isn't it, that you miss on Vassal,
Said no one ever in war games clubs.
Do you know, one day we should talk about the guy that made the tournament smell.
You're going to name him? What are you going to do?
Do you remember years ago?
I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think it's that the one guy only. Like this one guy goes to all these tournaments.
There was a guy you were playing in Bournemouth once, and that was very awkward.
It was awkward. Because, I know.
Let's hope he's not a Patreon. Yeah.
Talking of which, we have to say a big thank you to our latest Patreon, Walter McWilliams. Thank you very much, Walter. We really appreciate it. A T-shirt's on its way to you as we speak. Really appreciate your support. Thank you. You are obviously welcome to join in next year's tournament because the final was played today. We're not going to give away the result just yet. We're going to do that for next week.
Yeah.
Martin's looking forward to talking about that one. But
I know who won.
You do know who won. Keep it quiet. Yeah. Keep it quiet. But we're going to talk about next year's prize. This here is the board that people can win next year. It's a hand-painted board. This was board 69. So it's the original that was painted by Don Petros. So we're looking forward to that. If you're a patron at middle tier or above, you can join the tournament. It's finished now this year. It was brilliant. I didn't hear any complaints. I love the fact that we all play the same scenario. There's no worrying about who's going to get a dodgy side.
So do we know, Dave, when the second tournament will start? Have we thought that through yet?
No, so I'm thinking we should start it in January. I mean, that would be my preference. So if you join up and become a patron before the 1st of January, you'll be invited in. I'll send out the invites at the start of January.
Is that at any level of Patreon subscriber?
Yes, the middle tier and above.
It's middle tier and above, yeah.
That's right, yeah. And that's just to keep the numbers down a little bit, to make it a little bit manageable. But we welcome, anybody who wants to join. Skill levels, by the way, don't feel like you aren't skilled enough to play. I had a few comments throughout the tournament about people who have enjoyed themselves and didn't think they were good enough to play, didn't think they would be able to compete. And each one of those players won at least one, if not two, of the games they played. We're all in it for fun.
Yeah.
And that's why you played, Martin.
Yeah. Thanks for that, Dave.
Okay, talking of Patreons, so there's a little bit of recognition on the ASL Scenario Archive now. So if you go to the homepage and you scroll down either the top rated players or the highest contributions, and there'll be other areas as well that I'll add, you get a little green tick now next to your name if you're a patron, just to recognise the fact that other people can see that you're a patron of the site. Again,
so you would only be on that list if you were a top rated player?
That's right. There's so one of the pages is actually going to have all of the ratings of all the players. You can have all 2,000 players or whatever it is that are on there. On the homepage, it's just the top 100. But yes, I'll get around to everywhere where there's someone's name. I'll add if they're a patron or not. It just means there's a little bit of code fiddling.
Absolutely.
But yeah, so you can see a little green tick. So if you see a little green tick next to your name, you're a Patreon, or you're a regular donor, and you may have donated a big lump sum or whatever it is that we've had help from other people. So big thank you to everybody for that. We really appreciate it, and it's great that everybody gets involved and wants to help out.
And there's some other new features. I don't know, the scenario of the month.
The scenario of the month absolutely is going really well. So if you take a look, for example, at the scenario of the month for either the Dead of Winter or the starter kit one, which name escapes me because it's a bit of a tricky one, isn't it? But they have had a whole bunch of plays. It's really nice to see. So as of speaking, Ad Hoc at Chef de Pont has a bunch of plays. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. About 11 people have logged games against it.
Yeah.
There are a whole bunch of Vassal logs that you can download and take a look at. So if you're interested in seeing how those games played out, it's a great way of shouting about your game and having other people see it.
and also having a look at other people's. I mean, that could turn into a really helpful resource over time.
Exactly. Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah.
And again, don't feel like people are going to criticize. There's no criticism. It's just there's never been a perfect game of ASL played, as we can attest, Martin. So yeah, it's all about just showing what happened and showing the fun. And some people enjoy looking at them, and maybe Tom can do some analysis of it. I know he likes analysing scenarios, so maybe there's a few there that you can look at. All right, okay, so let's talk about 5 reasons why we can't wait to get back to ASL face to face.
Other than breath.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Exactly. So I can kick off. So number 5, I look forward to leaving the house, not just leaving the house, but leaving the house with a purpose and being able to get in the car, driving to you, for example, or a tournament, and knowing I'm directly going to play ASL. There's something nice about putting my rulebook in the car, shutting the door, jumping in the car, getting some snacks for the ride or whatever it is, and then heading off. Do you have the same feeling? Do you like it?
Do you know, when you first suggested this one, before we were filming, I thought, don't be ridiculous, like you're just getting in the car. But actually, now you're describing it on air live, I do get a little frisson of excitement when I'm off to play ASL. Do you know, you're getting away from your troubles, aren't you? Getting away from the family, you're getting away from everything.
Yeah.
Especially if you're going away for a few days.
Yeah.
That is actually quite exciting. And traditionally, if I've got a long drive, I put on the 2 half squads.
Yep.
I'll download it, put it on, just to kind of get myself totally immersed in the world of ASL before I even arrive at where I'm going.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree, Dave.
Good.
It's exciting.
Excellent. Okay, well that's
ASL boots on.
Yeah. Spoil if it's your next door neighbour. But anyway, okay. Number 4.
I'm a little bit anxious about this one. So I think that there is something about getting together with, another guy you might know quite well or whatever, and working together, because there's an element of sort of, I don't know, working together to kind of like sort of play the game, getting counters out for each other and kind of knowing what the other person is kind of intuitively cooperative. Now, I think we very much hesitated to say this live, but like there's almost like a making love kind of element to the way you kind of like work together with a guy you're used to playing with, and you kind of you know each other, know the way around each other's game, kind of thing.
You wanted to say body, didn't you? You wanted to say body. And sometimes at tournaments, you have to work around other people's bodies too.
That's very true. That is very true.
Now, you said to me, people lift things for you, they help things out. And then you made the analogy of like making love. And I was intrigued.
What people lift. So,
but I didn't want to ask.
You don't want to know my techniques, Dave. You just don't need that in your life.
We've played long enough together. I know them. I feel like I would know how you make love. The way you roll dice, and the way you drop counters, the way you fumble in the glass.
We'll need to cut this later.
Number 3, quickly.
Number
3, which is actually it kind of leads on from that quite nicely.
Yeah.
The banter. I think we have a lot of banter when we're playing anyway, but there is nothing quite like having a bit of a laugh and a joke and a bit of a gossip or a bit of a fun. What's happened recently and some stories over a board. Over a cup of tea, and we definitely we kind of joke about this kind of thing, but there is a mental health aspect to the fact that people have been locked up a little bit long and they've been a little bit lonely, and I think there is an element of getting back into normality and having a bit of a chat, and this is close, but I think when we are back rolling dice and shaking hands, let's just say no more, but that will be a nice nice thing, so I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, definitely, and we have a little bit of banter. I mean, the ultimate banter man is definitely Martin Mayers, who swears at you. He calls you every rude word you can think of, and it's great fun. I do remember once playing David Schofield online, and I just got a new lodger, and she was only 22, 23 years old, and I was telling him about this lodger, who happened to be standing a very short distance away from me, no headphones on, speakers on, and he went, I bet you've been. No, it's like, David, she stood right there. She sneaked off quite quickly, but yeah, it's all part of the fun of it.
That's brilliant. Excellent. Okay. All right. Well, number 2, Martin. What's your second favourite?
Food and treats.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So
yeah, go on. You go.
no, okay. I was going to ask you what's your favourite kind of treats next to a board?
Wow, that's a very good question, isn't it? I think a pint.
Oh wow.
Nice pint of beer, or ideally, especially later in the evening, a nice scotch. That's very, very nice. But I mean, me and you tend not to drink together because one way or another, one of us would be driving most likely.
Yeah.
But after a tournament or something like that, I think beer is a really nice thing to have. Yeah.
Yeah, I like.
It does not improve my play. It has to be said, it does not improve my play. But
So I have a list of treats that are allowed near the table and some that aren't, and they the top ones are things like minstrels, not going to melt in your hand. They're going to be very good for you, and down at the bottom are the crisps and the flapjacks and the greasy ones at the bottom.
Do you ever worry that you're too analytical?
No. And most of my counters can be safe from the knowledge that minstrels are okay, but greasy sausage rolls aren't. Yeah, no, I like the idea.
I mean, if there's food on the table, if there's like treats on the table, I'll eat them.
You sound like a dog.
Yeah, there we go. I'm very easy to please. But what I really enjoy is stopping the game and going to have a proper meal and stuff like that, and a bit of a break from the game. Chat, talk about different things. Enjoy some good food. That's all a part of the thing.
The worst part of that is sitting back down again, realise you're in a really bad position that wasn't so bad when you were there, and you come back to it like, why am I playing this on? What's gone wrong?
Why didn't I concede before dinner? Yeah. Yeah, no, exactly.
Excellent. All right. Well, okay. Number 1. So Vassal is superb. We know Vassal's superb. Vassal does more for gaming than any of us put together in terms of it gets people together and it lets us play. But the issue that I kind of sometimes struggle with Vassal is I don't feel like I'm getting my proper money's worth out of the modules that I've paid for and the boards that I bought and the counters that I've clipped and that sort of thing. I mean, I love clipping counters. Like I kind of clipped everything. I like to have everything looking quite nice and everything. And then I go and play it on Vassal and I kind of feel like, well, all that work's been done for nothing, and all those scenarios that I trimmed and put into protectors and put in everything's kind of not getting the value. So having actually seen the tangible benefit of what you've done, what you've invested in, what you've fastidiously packed away and sorted, and all of that kind of stuff is quite nice for me. I kind of like that. You've said that it's potentially possible to play ASL very, very cheaply, isn't it? You can get by with Vassal and someone else's copy of a scenario, for example. And we know the money that we put into ASL. Playing something that uses 4 different modules that you've bought over the years and a hard to find board that you struggled with but you've now got, putting it all together on a board, it all comes together, and being able to play and not justifying the purchase but being able to say that's what that purchase got me, that's bought me this 5 hours, 6 hours, 7 hours of entertainment, I think is a nice feeling.
I don't think I completely agree. So I do agree in the sense that there's nothing quite like the feeling of having the maps out and the look and the getting the counters out. I love that. I far prefer playing face to face like that. But I hate the whole thing of getting counters out, trimming scenario cards because they're American paper sizes, and the other thing is I can't find things. I can't find things because I don't really like organising it.
Right.
But also because even when you've got a system, everybody wants rare counter types, rare vehicles and things like that. I don't know where to put them. So I just got boxes of stuff that I don't really know how to fit into my system. That kind of annoys me a little bit. So I said, I'm going to be a millionaire one day.
Yep.
Well, I may not be, but if I am, I'm going to have somebody do all that for me.
Ollie, I believe Ollie actually does do that as a service. I'm not sure. He certainly clips counters for people.
Really?
We need to have a proper conversation. Maybe we can make it one of the focus of a show about how we're going to sort counters to include third-party counters, because I have a huge problem with that. I don't know what I'm doing with it.
Well, Ollie does have an answer, I believe. But I don't think that Ollie's solution necessarily suits everybody. And he's devised a system. You can print out the sheets, cut them out, and all the little labels and everything. It's a lot of work, isn't it? It's a lot of work, and a week later something else comes out. And the system's out of date. That's the problem.
True.
Yeah.
We'll have to talk about it.
We should definitely have a debate about is how we one day all get all the ASLers in the world to live in one big commune.
Do you know something? So these guys don't know this, but you and I know this. So when I came to your house, it may have been the last ever time we came, I can't remember now, but we actually filmed a section where, because the Euro Millions jackpot was £130 million, I bought us both a ticket, with the idea being that we would, if we won, I was going to put 5 million into the ASL commune.
That'd be amazing.
I had the idea we were going to go find, because we even looked at, you and I, the Victorian forts off the coast of England.
Yes.
Where that would make the perfect ASL commune.
It would be an unbelievable place. I think it'd be quite expensive to do them up. One of them has been done up, but
money's no object when we were a millionaire.
Money's no object. Yeah. I tell you, the other thing we did, we even looked at a hotel in Blackpool. Do you remember?
We did.
That was for sale. Yeah.
We did look at that. We did. But here's what, and I'm going to ask people to do around the world. Okay, if we pull our resources together, we can do this. If you, at some point, when you are off to play a face-to-face game with someone, if you're able to stop off and buy a lottery ticket for each other, buy each other a lottery ticket. Don't gamble. Gambling's bad, but just buy a lottery ticket for each other. And if you win, donate that money to an ASL commune. We can make it happen, Martin. We can make it happen. All right?
We can make it happen.
Okay. Let's do it.
Brilliant.
I can't wait for face-to-face. That was it. Yeah, that was the top 5. So I'm looking forward to it. I know you are. Excellent. All right. Let's talk about Play by Mail.
Rob.
Yeah, Rob McGinley. So here is the third part of Rob's The Good, the Bad and the Ugly around Play by Mail for Vassal. Take it away, Rob.
Welcome to Play by Email Part 3. So what I want to cover today, and quickly, is more good and then the ugly. Well, some more good. Absolutely, play anybody, anytime. I've played people all over the world, in the smallest part of the world to just down the corner. I've played people at times of bad weather, good weather. It's just an amazing thing to be able to send your logs anytime. The next fantastic thing is really there's no dropouts in timing. Waiting for the live game and having people not turn up and the disappointment around it is pretty bad, as well as the concept of even, waiting for someone to come over to your house and play. So logs can be thick and fast. And believe me, only the other day with a lovely chap called Gene, we did 25 logs in one day, thick and fast. It was a great Saturday. And then patience is a virtue learnt by Play by Email. So really having patience with your co-player. He might have done the game when he was tired. He might have done the game when he was distracted. Might have done the game when he was drunk. I've seen that before. And it's one of the nice things about Play by Email. You learn a lot about your co-player, particularly your mate. But we must cover the ugly. So rolling. Well, roll till you cry. Basically, his rolls kill you. Suck it up, princess. So he sends that first log. He gets everything in prep. He wipes out your entire force. Your rolls that just don't work. Well, that does upset. And your rolls that kill you. Only the other day, I did the old motorcycle charge, and the one firepower fire lane wiped out a third of my motorcycles. 1 minus 1, I seemed to roll snake eyes a couple of times, 3 a couple of times, 4 a couple of times. And when I rolled my morale checks, every single one of them broke. And then the bailouts were even worse. And the snipers I generated were even worse. So snipers, particularly in Play by Mail, can really spoil your fun. The final thing I need to cover with ugly is cheating. I'm not going to go through this in detail because I think will give it a negative spin too much to the whole thing. But in reality, these are 4 big things that really do happen in play-by-email. So there is a negative side, which is mentioned many times in articles and in the forum. So, in conclusion, fantastic for the ASL addict. Start with the resources, find a mentor, and go slow and then get your mojo. Expand your players and then expand your horizons. Welcome to Play by Email.
All right, so that's good stuff from Rob. I need to do Rob's logs, but time and the trouble is with Rob, because he's so good at returning log files back to you. You don't get, like sometimes where you feel like you get a bit of a respite if you can just do the work and send it off. And the trouble is that it comes back so quickly again, and I'm back to where I began. So Rob, Rob's brilliant. Play Rob, play by mail if you get a chance.
But it means you've never ticked a job off your list because you think you've ticked it off and it's back on the bottom of the list again. It's not something that needs to be done.
Yeah, exactly.
It's really interesting. So Rob sort of alluded to it a little bit. Is the whole dilemma of what you do when you have outrageously good luck playing by email, and I've done this where you kind of go, well, I've just had a ridiculously unlikely event happen, and you've just got to send it back, really, haven't you? You've just got to send it back, and it feels awful. It feels fine sending it back when you've had terrible luck, but I guess it's that fear that someone's going to think you cheated. I suppose that's what's awkward about it, isn't it?
Exactly, and you can never tell people it honestly wasn't, because they'll never really believe you, even though I know you're 100% trustworthy.
But it would be even worse if I just sent back, I had pretty good luck, but I didn't cheat. That sounds even worse, doesn't it?
The other thing,
that is the worst thing about play by email.
The one thing that I struggle with on play by email is the little not spoilers that you have to send along with the email. So let's say, for example, I have an amazing turn, I hit your sniper, the sniper jumps over to your best leader, kills your leader that I've rolled for, because it's just one of the things you just roll for as part of it. Your 10 -3 has been killed by my sniper. I've had a critical hit on something, and I'm going to do the thing. I'm going to put it back in the log, and I'm going to, hi, buddy, please find attached log file. Good luck, or what do you say that precurses what he's about to see? You're going to ruin someone's day with this.
And you shouldn't really. And the other thing is that, of course, you shouldn't really give a clue as to what's going to happen in the log file, because the player has to make a decision sometimes to send it back early.
Right.
Do you see what I mean? So,
do you know what?
I think if you go, so if you say, amazing piece of luck in this one, and the guy's playing it through, and he suddenly realises you're about to walk through some residual or something like that, he's got a terrible dilemma, because he can send it back and rob you of the the hit with the 10-3 that he knows is further into the log file.
Yeah. Or worse than that is, I don't think anyone's ever done this, but I'm going to say that because I'm naive. Going through a log file and seeing that happen to you, and then going back to the start and just finding any reason to send it back.
Yes.
just to null avoid it.
I don't think we'd have to look very far for somebody who's done that. I suspect I've done that.
Don't say that. You're just not looking for play-by-mail opponents. All right. Okay. Okay, so let's talk about Storm of Steel. We recorded this last time, but we didn't get to play it, so we're going to flick over. So don't worry about the change of clothes that Martin and I are about to take place in. I think you've changed clothes, Martin, and I certainly did, because I got a nice shirt on today. So this is last week's recording for this week on our game of Storm of Steel. Okay, all right. So as you'll remember, last episode we did a random selection from the Scenario Archive. It cruelly picked us Storm of Steel. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, Martin. Let's talk about Storm of Steel from the action pack.
Okay.
So what's the scenario all about?
Okay, so you can see there's a big stack of Germans at the top in the north, I think, and there are a very spread out number of Russians sort of bored away, but they are protected by huge minefields. So the Germans have to think of the best way to kind of push themselves through that minefield. There are some hip anti-tank infantry sort of units, aren't there, on that middle board?
Yes.
Hip in foxholes, and I think they've got Molotov cocktails, and I think they might have benefits in close combat tanks.
That's right.
Things like that.
Yeah.
So they're kind of designed to sort of ambush the German tanks.
Right.
You've also got quite a few anti-tank guns. There are 4 in total.
Yep.
But it seemed to me, because the Germans have got this very wide front, they can attack anywhere along it.
Yep.
You know, as many places as they want, or all in one place. Those guns are obviously slow to move, so inevitably, you know, by attacking one side or the other, you probably kind of make 2 of the guns relatively irrelevant, I suppose. That was what I was thinking.
That's
also,
right.
very interestingly, we have Goliaths.
Yes.
In this scenario, which is unusual. And some special rules. They don't need. I don't think they need to have designated operators. It's just a little bit easier to use them. They're obviously there to help the Germans through the mine belt.
That's right. That's right.
And they've got to get off, haven't they? So 75 points. So the Germans can count anything they get off the board at the bottom, or casualties, Russian casualties. But they need 75 points, which seemed at first to me to be quite a high number when I first looked at this.
Yeah, exactly. You've got some very good tanks. I think the key thing for the Russians, you've got to defend a very wide front, which is always a problem.
Yeah.
You know, we know that, you know, these kind of scenarios are susceptible to a board edge rush, and that's exactly what you did. You know, I had a pillbox set up here with a heavy machine gun on the far left, because I thought we could cover more of the ground than anything else. And you know, you completely avoided that, which is obviously the right thing to do. You've also got a huge amount of time. This scenario is it's like 10.5 turns, so long time. Now you do have to get through these minefields, and I have extra minefields as well, which I converted to anti-tank mines. So I converted the whole set.
So we got some mines on the bottom board, haven't we? Which are HIP, you know, which are anti-tank and anti-personnel.
That's right.
And you got the anti-tank ditches, which we used to sort of, you know, channel the Germans somewhat.
Exactly. So yes,
lakes.
Exactly. So the lake channels it. There's certainly some choke points. The problem is that the anti-tank guns can't really penetrate the tanks from the front.
The Tigers, well, actually,
I mean, they're going to struggle with a lot of it. I mean, they're okay against the is it the Stugs, are they?
The Stugs and Tigers.
But
and the Stugs are probably vulnerable-ish.
So my plan was to point them backwards, fall back from my positions, and then hopefully catch you as you either come through this road, either side. That was the plan. So we're gonna whiz through this as quick as we can, because you know. So Martin, give us your kind of commentary as we go through this.
All right. Okay. Yeah. I mean, obviously, the first challenge is to move through the minefield. I have to say, made so much easier by it not being particularly under fire.
That's right.
And I've got loads and loads of engineers as well, and sappers and all that kind of stuff. So I've got the Goliaths were very ineffective, I think.
Yeah, so they actually got taken out by the anti-personnel. There's anti-personnel and anti-tank in each of these hexes as part of an SSR.
They weren't desperately effective, but what happens with this one?
Yeah, so this is the one that gets through, isn't he? So you get one through.
One through, and then the tanks just have to make trail breaks.
That's right.
Yeah, and as they're only anti-personnel mines, it's fine.
Well, yeah, with the anti-tank as well. So you kind of you can see there that I caught one of them. But then as soon as you get exactly as you said, you get one through, you got your trail break.
The rest can go through.
So at this point,
and then it was really interesting now, because I know that you've got these 4 little anti-tank heroic crew type things around somewhere, but I don't know where they are. Yeah, go on. So you were about to speak about them.
Yeah, so exactly. So I've got a hip guy in CC7. This is one of those times where you were certain you'd gone through this hex, and we'll double check it to make sure you didn't, but I'm pretty certain you don't. And I was trying to work out what's the best target for these. I really want to catch a tank laden with infantry. That's my my kind of idea of this. That's the kind of the plan. Now, one thing we didn't do here, and maybe we got that wrong, we didn't do the trail break for the anti-personnel mines in CC2. We just assumed that you've gone through. I can't remember if you blew everything up with that second tank, and then I can't remember what happened there. But
I think we blew them up with the Goliath in there.
Yeah, I think That's quite possible. Yeah, I think for one of them, and then the second one that got the trail break. There's potentially There's. I guess you've gone through both of them.
The trail break is with the tank.
That's right.
Gone through, it's gone through all.
So
interestingly, the thing is, I've got a broken unit that came off the tank in CC3, and that really mucks me up because
that's
all
right.
my platoons are ready to go through in threes, and of course they can't.
Yeah, we caught that a little bit too late here.
I think we moved a couple back though.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Because you're too honest. You bring them all back.
The vehicles can go straight through. Yeah.
So, but I mean, already now you're.
Yeah, this is turn one. I feel like I'm making good progress.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
So I have to start running back now. I can't. Yeah. So I can't now bring these guys that are now withdrawing off onto the board below for another SSR. So it's
that's right.
So I have to kind of keep onto this
running across the board.
Yeah.
So I know where was it 4 or 5 of them are. How many were there in total? There were 6 of these half squads. I know where 5 of them are now. And my best guess is that the other one is in front of my advance.
Yeah. Now don't forget, one of them is just a hero. So you're actually because you were miscounting these as well during the game. So I've got I've got a half squad in X7 on the middle board, and I've got one in CC7 as well.
Yeah.
So the idea is I might try and catch something a bit big with this. So across, I start to do the Great Migration across.
Yes.
And the idea is just try and get as much across of this as possible.
And of course, you've got that heavy machine gun now in F3, which just can't make it.
That's right.
Can't go very far because it's so heavy.
Exactly. So in you come now. I deliberately left this gap, thinking you might see this gap and you might go for it.
When you say this gap.
Sorry, I'm pointing. So Z1, 42 Z1.
Yeah.
So your tank's staring at it, and you stopped just before. I thought, I can't believe you stopped. You went through the trenches. And you have to take a bailout check because of the orchards, and you were quite unlucky there. Right. You pinned there. And so here's where I finally
mines in DD2, didn't we? I've just driven into the mines in DD2.
That's right.
You revealed your anti-tank.
That's right. Yeah.
Half squads.
Yeah. So we're going to go for the demo charge.
Yeah.
Which I roll an 11.
Perfect.
You roll a 12, even better.
But actually, once I'm going across, I've got quite a big force here. That's the thing, is that I can afford to lose a few squads.
I get another bite at the cherry here.
Yeah.
So I managed to knock those guys off. But the problem is with these guys is that once they're revealed, they're very vulnerable.
Yeah. They're out in the open. I mean, they're in foxholes, but and those vehicles can fly through that trail break. It's a little bit slower going through a trail break, but it's not a big problem. The guy in the 07 is a bit of a problem going up onto level 1.
Yes. This is my hero up here with his anti-tank rifle.
That's right. Yeah.
But again, I mean, these are very low odd shots. Trying to take these tanks out. And again, you're sitting here just next to the mines in Z1, taking shots. It's like the most frustrating thing as a Russian. I spin the tank.
Revealed your anti-tank gun in DD4,
that's right. I
figured in fact, the tank in DD2 is sat in a minefield, isn't it? Which we haven't put on board, but it's there.
It's there, exactly. That's a 2-factor minefield. And I thought taking the side shot here was probably worth it. Because I'm not going to get that many. Not going to get that many shots. So you smoke him, which does a really good job. Kind of completely nullifies the tank. My other anti-tank gun reveals itself to get another side shot.
Another side shot,
and maybe the problem I think here is that because I was pointed the wrong way, even though this is just brush, you're always going to miss that first shot. And I think maybe I should have. You give me another chance here. And
I was very lucky.
And you go.
But now I've got a tank behind your infantry and quite a big force coming on. I think that's
exactly.
It's starting to look. It's just beginning to start to look quite good for me.
You move into the
Respect, tripped another minefield.
yeah. You move into this one. Set it off, and we get an immobilization here. You stay in the tank, and that tank proved to be pretty useful all the way through. I know it was, it's basically
Definitely, our line of sight to Y6, which
That's
is
right.
where your heavy machine gun is, isn't it?
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. Nice little battle going on for the little village there.
Yes, but you've got so much quality there. I mean, my
Exactly,
guys, two squads in there. You've got assault engineers coming in. Those
Just-
838s.
Yeah. Oh, it's amazing quality I've got. It's interesting, but that tank in the minefield in DD2, I spent the entire game trying to get an assault engineer in there to clear the mines to get them out safely. And I didn't, because
Right.
every time I did, I needed the infantry for something else.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So that was our first. Was our first one.
I don't think that's the end of the first session.
Yeah. This is our second session here coming up.
Okay.
So this was because it was three sessions we did here.
Oh, it was 3 sessions. Okay.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
So around comes a tiger. We got a Molotov on one of the tigers there.
Yeah, I made me quite nervous in Molotovs, I have to say.
Yep. Yeah, you're.
All sorts of silliness with the tank at the top.
This
going up, extra casualties.
big guy up here started reversing back away again from the anti-tank rifle.
Yeah, unbelievable. Yeah. But
so-
I can get him off easily. There's plenty of time to get him off.
Yep.
And that's why I was sort of thinking, well, look, just might as well go and get some points with him
Yep.
if I can.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
And you've got so much time to do that. You've got the time to be able to even go and sort that little broken squad out up in U6.
That's right.
Melee start in the buildings.
And indeed on the anti-tank rifle,
Yes.
getting into close combat, killing, wiping them out, capturing it for the 2 points.
Yep.
And I think just about every time I get you into close combat or I get another unit down, it's just a rising tide, isn't it?
Yes.
The Germans have got a rising tide. It's
More
very
points,
difficult.
less Russians too.
It's more points. You've got less units.
Yep. I think I was a
And
turn
why-
slow. I think I was a turn slow bringing these anti-tank guns from the left-hand side around. I think I could have been doing that a turn earlier. I was a
Because
little
I
bit...
thought they would. I couldn't see how they're going to have any impact at all, but they do have an impact, and it was worth moving them.
Yep.
Yeah.
Tigers are starting to get a little bit frisky again.
They do, don't they?
But meanwhile, you're kind of building up a big bulk of force down that right-hand side.
Yeah.
So
and
the
second anti-tank gun is still in. He's still in control of the anti-tank gun, but I overran it, didn't I?
you
So
did,
I
you
overshot
did,
it.
yeah. You killed the
Yeah.
crew. But at this point, the Russians are already hugely struggling.
Yeah.
So we're just trying to reposition, but it's so slow going through this set of woods that it's we're going to struggle, and then we end up with very little line of sights onto the very far right hand.
And there's quite a bit of smoke around, isn't there, as well as the buildings and the brush. There's all sorts of stuff to keep that force on the right hand side a bit protected as they move forward.
That's right, exactly. And this brings us up to our last session. So,
and I think it's already looking a little bit like it's likely to be a German victory, I think.
yeah, and my feeling here was that if I could get one or two tanks, I thought I'd actually win. I think that I thought that maybe you'd underestimated the point swing of a couple of tanks, because 75 points getting off is a lot, and those tanks do contribute a lot to it.
And really, for this last session, I was thinking of getting points as much as possible. I mean, I can get all that infantry off and a few of the tanks, and I thought I've got time to pick off. Every time to get a squad, it's another 2 points. Capture the anti-tank gun, destroy it, it's another 2 points. All those sorts of things.
No, you're absolutely right.
And trying to get the heavy and the medium machine guns aloft in V2 as well.
Yeah, you build up a massive firebase,
Massive
in V2.
Yeah. I'm a little bit. I think we've seen it. Well, yeah, I was a little bit too aggressive, wasn't I? Moving the flamethrower forward too quickly.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And you got
Push back.
now the anti-tank guns can start firing at that. But really, me firing at this is doing nothing
Yeah.
to help win the game.
Yeah. And I don't need to get them off. You know,
That's
even
right.
if you pin them or break them,
Yep.
they're up there. They're going to get you away from the wood line.
Yep. Exactly. And at this point, I'm just trying to attack the tanks for points, knowing that basically, if I can do anything,
I need to get them off.
Yeah. Jump into close combat down here.
Yeah.
With your assault engineer.
Yeah. And I win.
You get the ambush, don't you? Jump back out again. And at that point, we call it. I think you had somewhere in what it was the casualties there. You had 24 points of CVP already.
Yes.
So you needed 50 points, and you can see that you've got a whole bunch of guys here.
So there's three tanks.
Yeah.
Are obviously just going to be going off. There's
I think 4 tanks even. I think the four tanks down here. This one is blazing. But there's 4 that are going to come off for about what, 30,
at least 4, 30, maybe
30. 30 points there. And there's a good bunch of points here.
And in fact, there's 2 squads and a leader in 42cc9 that are probably going to die for failure to rout. That's another 6 points of victory conditions.
Exactly.
I think you made me roll to see if I'd be able to start the Tiger in AA7.
That's right.
And then once we established that it was going to start, you decided it would be sensible to resign here.
That's right, because of the nice big point swing of
absolutely.
Yeah.
But I tell you what, I mean, I get that you found it quite hard because you were like shifting infantry across the board, and it was didn't feel that was the most exciting playing that you ever had. But I quite enjoyed that kind of very rapid kind of exploitation and sort of like blasting through as fast as I could. I quite enjoyed doing it.
Right.
I don't think it was necessarily the most challenging ASL or the best play I've ever done or anything like that. But it was quite fun doing it because I felt like I was in a little bit of a rush before you were able to like plug the gap that obviously existed.
And I agree with that. I think had it not been over 3 game sessions, and we're not slow players. I think we're fairly quick. It's just there's a lot of rules to go through in terms of the minefields and the Goliaths and stuff like that. And so you're kind of and a 10.5 turn scenario is always going to be fairly lengthy to play through. So I think what we said at the end there was that last part of the scenario was actually quite good because it was the nuts and bolts of what was like a 3 or 4 turn scenario condensed down and boiled down into, and the prelude part of it just felt a bit anticlimactic. It felt a little bit.
It's strange. It's almost like a little pre-game, isn't it? Especially as they're not really even under fire as they're trying to get through that field.
Yeah,
it does feel almost like you've got to roll for the rubble or something like that. A little sort of pre-game mechanism or whatever. And I suppose the one thing it does is it forces you to decide how many holes do you want to make, because the more holes you make, the more risky it is. And in the end, I just made one, didn't I?
That's it. Yeah, which is
through that.
Definitely the right thing to do. I think just concentrate your firepower and go through that. Okay. So we had a good time with Storm of Steel. I in hindsight, thinking about Storm of Steel, I wonder whether putting a lot of my forces on the right hand side, for example, or left hand side, and having the majority of the half squad concealed guys in the middle board on the other side of the board, and whether that would have potentially have done a better job. I don't know.
I think the interesting thing about that is, of course, I don't know where any of that force is. It's complete. I mean, you could conceivably try and second guess where the Germans are going to come and put everything on one side, couldn't you?
Right. Yeah.
Possibly guaranteeing a win if the Germans go that way.
Yeah.
But almost certainly guaranteeing defeat if they choose the other. So there's quite a few interesting kind of game elements to that, isn't there?
True. Yeah. Okay, let's do a Patreon giveaway.
Lovely.
So we are going to do a digital scenario pack of the patron's choice. We will give them the $15 of scenario credits. So Martin, I need you to go to random.org. I would like
Here
a
I am.
number from
I'm
1 to
there
44.
already. And I have got 1 to 44
Yep.
as the minimum and maximum.
Okay.
Okay.
Your
We ready
your
to-
order is in. If you look at the end credits, you'll see the order that you were in. You can work out your number based on that. If you want to, give us a number, Martin.
Here we go. 5.
Number 5, Brian Fung. Brian, you are a winner. I will get in touch with you. Congratulations.
Congratulations,
there will be a digital scenario pack at some point on your Scenario Archive account. Thank you. Thanks everybody for doing that. Martin, let's talk about the Roma pack. You have a copy currently sitting in my house.
Copy?
That is your copy.
That's my copy that I've been waiting for, and you're dangling it there.
I am dangling. Here's my copy. But yeah, there's your copy.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the pack. We picked this up. Looks good. Four scenarios.
Yeah.
It's a collaboration between MMP and the Rome Wargaming Gathering for the October 2020, and it's got a board in it as well, board 86. We had a look at the scenarios, didn't we? What do we think?
Yeah. Well, we think they're all very interesting. They're all very playable in terms of size.
Yep.
There's some already appear a bit more popular, if you like, in terms of like sort of Raw and the archive than others.
Yep.
But we'll discuss that perhaps as we go through, maybe why that is.
Yeah, that's right.
Very nice. And you made a very good point about the board.
Yeah, all the boards, all the scenarios feature board 86, which is quite a nice. Yeah. It's a nice use of if you want to get a lot of use out of the board. That board is very pretty. Let's just grab that so that people can see it. If you haven't seen it already, obviously you can put it up on Vassal or whatever. It's a very nice board, isn't it? It's a
I like the hill. I quite like hills anyway, but it's lovely.
Yeah, it's good. So 8 million bayonets. Number 1 from the Roma pack. Looks a little bit tricky to set up in Vassal. I've got to say, with the boards, you have to do that strange thing with a null over a null board.
That's right. It would be a bit difficult to Vassal. Right.
Someone cleverer than me will figure out a Vassal setup, and what I would do.
I figured out how to do that in the past, but I can't remember how to do it.
Yeah, it's a bit tricky. But so it's one of those tricky ones that will get up on the archive for people to download.
But if you're playing face to face, there's no problem at all. If you're using live boards, is it? It's obviously it's easy.
Absolutely. Although, exactly, it's one of those ones where you've got the tricky thing. You probably need some plexiglass on it because you've got the boards are folded over a little bit. In fact, actually, you can't fold these ones over because because it's going to be. I think it's part of this board here, so it uses both half of the fold, even though it's
you wouldn't be able to fold them.
Yeah, but it does look quite nice, doesn't it?
Yeah, and actually, all of these are a little bit like this. This is in Greece, isn't it? I mean, you don't see lots of scenarios set in Greece. This is the Italian invasion of Greece in 1940. I think the million bayonets are the Italian. Is the Italian force? I think obviously not the force depicted in this.
And was that Mussolini saying that he had 8 million bayonets at his disposal or something? And was that part of his speech?
But you know what? I don't know. That sounds very plausible.
Yeah, I think it's part of the. There's an annual article, isn't there, called 8 million bayonets? And I think I remember reading that, but
that's perhaps where that comes from.
Yeah, it's quite nice. Yeah. But there's only 12 squads and a half squad, so it's not quite.
Yes, that's right. They haven't got that many bayonets with them, I don't think.
That's right. That's right. But it's got the mud as well, which I like the secret mud dice roll. I think it's a nice bit of chrome.
Yeah, and do you know what I think is interesting about this is that the Italians have got lots of tanks in this scenario. Very small, weak tanks. They're vulnerable even to the machine guns, and they got the Greeks got some big guns, haven't they, and stuff. But they got lots of small, very vulnerable tanks that are likely to get stuck in the mud. So you've got a kind of a weapon that could be very, very decisive, but actually might be quite difficult to bring to bear.
Yep.
I think it's going to be quite interesting, including one of them is a flamethrowing tank.
Flamethrower tank, yeah, absolutely, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Looks cool. All right, number 2 is second-hand use.
It's Pete Schelling, isn't it?
Pete Schelling, the famous Italian, as we thought. So this one looks interesting. It looks interesting. It's partisans. and they have
The
Molotov.
Germans, yeah, in Corsica. Again, sort of like, when did you last play a scenario based in Corsica?
No, yeah,
It's just nice to see something perhaps just exploring a slightly more esoteric
Yep.
aspects of World War II.
Yep.
It's obviously much later in the war, so the Germans have got much better equipment, haven't you? You've got the Stug 3s. They Stug 3G. I can't read it properly.
Yep.
But yes, Stug 3Gs.
Yeah.
Yeah, very, very good quality Germans against a range of sort of partisans.
Yep.
Yeah,
And
what's not to like?
This one could be argued as a potential for 3-player scenario as well. You've got two very distinct sides on the Allied side, I guess. So you've got the you can do.
You've got the French resistance, haven't you, on the north?
That's right.
And you have this infantry division, which is Italian, on the south. So presumably, so the Italians are allied by this stage. Of the
Right.
Yeah. Fascinating.
Yeah, looks good. Okay, then we got the scenario 3, Salarola Junction.
Now, this one's more unusual, isn't it? This got some unusual features to this one.
That's right, isn't it? It's the night part. So it's the night. It becomes night on turn 2. A lot of overlays as well on the board, which some people might be a bit unfriendly about. Looks like an interesting set of the order of battle looks quite interesting there with the British in particular, or the New Zealand forces that they've got there with the is it the carriers there, aren't they? And the Staghound. I guess this could be considered to be like a night light scenario, because you don't have the impositions of not being able to be under no move and things like that. There's not going to be the first star shell bits and pieces.
Because the first turn is in daylight.
That's
it's only
right.
a night scenario after that. Yeah.
That's right. So it could be quite interesting. And you made the point, I think it's really interesting. You don't often see vehicles in night scenarios.
No.
So this is
there are
quite
both
interesting.
sides in this one.
Yeah.
Interesting. One of the main features is that they allow things to gain freedom of movement. But
Right.
that won't apply here, will it? Because everyone don't have freedom of movement from the beginning.
And I don't think we've mentioned this, but one of the best vassal features is that night overlay where it darkens the whole board, doesn't it? And then some units have like a little kind of light surrounding them.
I'm almost tempted to say, because of that feature, because I've thought this before, that Vassal might be better to play night scenarios than face-to-face.
Yep.
Because that is such a good feature. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, that's right. You're right. 8-turn scenario, but again, not a huge number of only sort of 7 squads, and perhaps 7 on each side, really, sort of 7 or 8. So not a huge scenario in terms of quantity of units, which is quite nice.
That's right. Yeah. I mean, we were talking before, weren't we? That, I mean, I certainly know people who are put off by a large number of overlays, and I think this has 7 or 6, perhaps. But once you set them up, it makes no difference whether it's overlays or not, is it? It's a few extra minutes of
that's right.
Of sort of filling around.
Yep. And some of these units come on quite late in the game as well. So actually, although it looks like a full scenario card, it's fairly paced out. And it's quite nice. It's got some set DCs as well. So you've got a choice whether you blow up your DC or not as part of the victory conditions, which is quite nice.
And I think this is the first of them written by an Italian. I mean, I'm guessing only by his name, which is perhaps not fair, but Sebastiano Caltabiano.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Seems reasonable.
Sounds Italian to me.
It certainly does sound Italian, yeah. Certainly does. And the first scenario not to feature Italian troops, I think, as well. So
That's true. That's true.
Okay.
And he is the designer of number 4 as well, which does have Italian troops.
Okay. Number 4.
No, he's not. He's not the designer of that one.
No. Paolo.
Pablo.
Yeah. Paolo Carriolato.
Yeah.
And this is interesting because it's got the prepared fire zones in there, which that was a new area in the book. And now I know you said this was Hackapale. They came in. I don't remember ever playing with prepared fire zones.
I don't think I've ever played with them, but I was aware that the rule was there. It's a slightly unusual rule, isn't it? Because one instance of it is called a vineyard, even if it's not necessarily a vineyard, I suppose. Because I think you've got 4 factors there, haven't you?
Mhm.
Prepared fire zone factors. And my understanding of the rule is that you can spend 1 to turn a hex, like for example, a forest hex, into a vineyard hex.
Right.
And a vineyard hex is, it's more just a hindrance, isn't it? I think there's a TM if you're of 1. There's also, it's just a hindrance when you fire through, so it's much easier to fire through it.
Right.
But if you spend 2, then it becomes open ground.
Right.
So you've got this sort of kind of interesting sort of way of spending those factors.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And this one looks like a nice scenario as well. This is
Yeah.
you mentioned it's a little bit like a Gary Fortenberry kind of victory conditions where you've got like an escalating victory condition based on the turn number, which is quite interesting.
I was very conscious when I made that comparison, actually, that how obviously Gary Fortenberry is just so much more intelligent than me, because when I read his victory conditions, I struggle to understand them sometimes a little bit, but secondly, I find it such a challenge to work out, what would be the kind of optimum way of winning when you've got like a sort of variety of different possibilities, paths to victory kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. That's very true. Very well put. No, you're right. It's I always feel like do you know like how sometimes you can do cryptic puzzles in a magazine or something? You can get those like real kind of brain burn. Every one of his victory conditions are a little bit like that, where there's a little bit of sub game going on about have I won yet? I can't work out if I'm winning, losing. Yeah. And in fact,
very smart guy. I mean, that's all. Was it 10 years of war or whatever? I mean, there wasn't a bad scenario, I don't think, in that pack, and they were very many of those were Gary, weren't they? Amazing.
That's right. In a scenario that we're going to show probably in a couple of episodes' time, the scenario that we played against Toby, we've got a game against Toby to show, and in that there's a point where we are either really winning or we're really losing, depending on Toby's choices, and it's a little bit similar to that. But yeah, excellent. Okay, all right. So I mean, this pack was something like, I can't remember if it was $15 or something. It's no brainer, I think, in terms of 4 scenarios a board. Why wouldn't you get something like this?
Yeah, absolutely. I think actually, I've just to say about that last one, Mounted Reeds, I think that was a brilliant bit of fun to set up the defence for that.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just wanted to go back and say that.
No, you're absolutely right, and I know you love doing it. I always feel like I'm miring myself into, painting myself into a corner when I'm setting these kind of things where I'm petrified that you're just going to waltz around it or whatever. But yeah, excellent. So well done for the MMP and the Italian guys for that one. It's a good pack, and I'm looking forward to playing that when we can finally play face to face, Martin. Which
we'll do one of these perhaps first time.
Yeah, sounds good. I'd like to.
That'd be a good idea.
Excellent. All right. Well played today for your Storm of Steel. Whenever we played years ago, a worthy winner. So good for that. And I guess until then, see you next week.
Take care all. Bye-bye.
Bye.